Hello, everybody. Uh, Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is doing well. Um, Thanks for watching. So, for today, we're going to be talking about who will control the United States Senate. This is an updated prediction for that. Um, it's been a while since I did the last one. Not a ton has changed per se, but there are some changes. I do think that there's quite a bit of interesting races to follow coming up. So let's just take into effect. Democrats should at least be somewhat in favor of going into the election, just because they're the party out of power. They typically gain momentum in the Senate, even if they're not able to win. Like that's typically more with the U.S. House, but it's the environment in general. So they should be able to at least be in the driver's seat going into the midterms, just because of the environment. So we'll go over the safe states that won't really be competitive for either party, at least 10% or further up the chain. So we'll start off with the safe Democratic states. Unless something changes, they will stay safe. You have Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico. The Democrat senator there is going to be running unopposed. Illinois, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. And that is about it as of now. Those are the safe Democratic states for the 2026 midterms as of now for the U.S. Senate. Safe Republican states will be Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and I'll explain in a minute, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida. That is it for the safe Republican. Um, there's a few that are kind of borderline, like Florida could be likely. I just think the state has moved too far to the right for Democrats to really contest it, really no matter who they run. Got a similar situation in Colorado. I don't really see it getting competitive. It's just trying to pretty Democratic, even if Republicans run somebody strong. Um, and then for Texas, I think that it's looking more and more likely that John Cornyn's going to win the Republican primary, and he is the stronger general election candidate uh, compared to Ken Paxton. So because of that, it's probably going to be safe. It could go down to likely, and again, it is very borderline. It could be likely or safe, but just as of now, because of the primary, I think it's going to be safe Republican. But if Ken Paxton ends up being the nominee, and since Democrats are already running James Talerico, the race could definitely get more competitive. Excuse me. Democrats are still looking to be competitive in Texas, but we'll have to see how that goes for either side. So now we will move on to likely states, likely Democratic. There's not a ton I'll throw in Minnesota. This is kind of borderline likely safe. There's not a super strong overperformer of a Democrat running. I think the Democrats are going to nominate Peggy Flanagan, who's the lieutenant governor. She's not the strongest candidate in the world. That's why it's going to be likely. It depends on who the Republicans nominate, but it's probably going to be around, probably between 7 and 9 points if I had to guess. So likely Democratic, because it pretty much goes in line with the partisan lean of the state of Minnesota. That's a likely Democrat win currently. And we have one more, which is New Hampshire. I think that it really very well could go into leans for the Democrat. I just see it as likely right now. John Sununu is a strong candidate for the Republicans. That name's kind of like a royalty in New Hampshire, so it's he definitely can make this race competitive. I just think Chris Pappas winning by a few points doesn't seem reasonable, just because the Democrat environment. Um, it's a relatively small state, so not as much spending gets spent. It's kind of a real low profile race, but it'll probably become more high profile in the end. If there was a Democrat in the White House, say this is Joe Biden, or any Democrat in the White House, Republicans could very well contest this race. It would probably be very competitive. I just don't see it being super competitive just because you have a Republican in the White House with Donald Trump. I don't see Republicans really coming super close to flipping this state Republican. It'll still be as close as it can get, but we'll have to see. I'm not quite comfortable putting it in safe Democrat. I just think it is still a competitive state at the end of the day. Well, it's probably going to be a likely Democrat win in the Granite State. Now we will move to likely Republican. There is some of them. We'll start with Alaska. This is on the border between likely and leans for the Republicans. But I just think that since Dan Sullivan is the incumbent, he'll probably win by a likely margin. Very well could get under. We'll have to see how the Democrats, Mary Peltola, runs her campaign. Like, she's raising a lot of money and makes this race close. It definitely can get very competitive. It's probably borderline for me between leans and likely. I just think Alaska's too red of a state right now, but we will have to keep an eye on Alaska. But as of now, it's looking Republican. Same with Nebraska. You have a repeat candidate, Dan Osborne, the independent running. Democrats won't run anybody, so he'll take up the Democrat vote, and probably as well as the independents and some moderate Republicans. I just don't think it's enough to flip this state. It's a pretty ruby red state flip. Moving on is Iowa for the Republicans, another likely. This race could have gotten competitive. There's just not a super strong field for the Democrats to run. I do think the governor's race will be pretty competitive, though, more than in the Senate. I think that's where they're going to be spending their money. However, for the Republicans, they should be able to win this fairly easily, probably around 6 or 7 points. Shouldn't have too much of an issue. Ashley Hinton will probably be the Republican nominee. She's kind of overperformer. She's like a representative for this part of the state. So that'll be a likely Republican win. And that is about it, I would say, for the likely states. Now we'll move on to leans. There is quite a few of them. We'll start with, for the Democrats, we'll start with Georgia. Jon Ossoff is the Democrat nominee. This will surely be one of the most hotly contested Senate elections this year. I think because it's the Democrat environment and Democrats have an incumbent, Jon Ossoff, running, I think that he should probably win. And I kind of think it won't even go to a runoff. We'll probably win by like 3 or 4 points. I just think that Republicans have a pretty bad primary to get through, and that will weaken whoever the candidate will end up being. It could get close, though, and it definitely will be competitive, a lot of money spent. I just think that Democrats are in the position to keep this seat blue with Jon Ossoff. And you got to mention he's raised a lot of money, too, which helps him. He's, I think, the highest fundraised incumbent senator running this year in a swing state. So for the Democrats, they should be able to hold on to this seat. Another race for the Democrats is a lean flip, which for North Carolina is Roy Cooper, the former Democratic governor. He's running. He just won his primary. Republicans are nominating Michael Whatley, who works with the Republican Party, like RNC, sort of like background. He's like, I think he runs campaigns. Both are pretty good fundraisers. Cooper is leading the polls, and he's got name recognition, former popular governor. The thing for Cooper is that he was able to win this state 2 times as governor when Donald Trump won the state at the same time, and Republicans won the U.S. Senate election at the same time. Roy Cooper was still able to overperform by quite a bit, and he just seems to be in a Democrat environment favored to win. This race could get competitive. Probably in a Republican best case scenario, this race could just narrowly go Republican. But I'm just not feeling comfortable with letting it go that way just because of the Democrat national environment. I think Democrats will flip the seat blue. And then I would say that's probably about it down south. There's one more lean Democrat state, which is probably between tilt and leans Democrat, but I'm going to have it as lean, is Michigan. Probably at the beginning of last year, I would say this would have been a Republican flip with Mike Rogers. But Democrat nominees going to get weakened, so that doesn't help them. Mike Rogers just sitting there campaigning. He's waiting for the Democrats to nominate somebody, so that'll help him. He's a strong candidate, and he barely lost. I just don't think that since Trump's not going to be on the ballot and he didn't win in 2024, he probably won't win in 2026, given it'll be a bluer environment. It'll be very close. It's probably only going to be around a point or two. But I think Democrats will win this seat just because of the reasons stated. Again, in a Republican environment, especially if the Democrat was in the White House, this probably would be a flip for the Republicans. But just because of that, I see Democrats hanging on to this seat. They'll probably nominate Mallory McMorrow if I had to guess who the nominee is. But we're going to really have to see how that ends up going, how things play out. But those are the lean Democrat states. Now you have two lean Republican states. We'll move on to Ohio. Democrats are running Sherrod Brown. I've talked about this race before. I just don't really think that he's fit to make a comeback. He did pretty well in 2024, but he still took a loss to Bernie Moreno. And he wasn't as strong of a candidate. Now Republicans have an incumbent who is appointed by the governor, John Husted. He seems to be a strong incumbent. I think he's raised a lot of money. He's more establishment, so he's able to get funding. I think this will be a very competitive, very expensive race. It'll probably go down to the wire. I just think at the end of the day, it'll be a Republican flip. Not a flip, but a hold, because I think Ohio has moved too far to the right for the Democrats to really win. It is good news for the Democrats, though, because Republicans will have to spend money to keep this seat Republican. It's going to be competitive, Ohio, but I'm still going to have to go Republican at the end of the day just because of the partisan lean of the state. And we have Maine, which is really a coin flip. It's going to be really hard to say who's going to win, but I still think that Susan Collins will end up winning re-election because she was predicted to lose in 2020 and she was able to win. She was able to overperform by like 18 points. When Joe Biden won the state by 9, Susan Collins won by 9. So I think that just because of her electoral past and her track record, she's probably going to win very narrowly, but I think this will be her last election. And I think that she'll be able to win because Democrats still have a primary to get through because of that. But here you go. You have my prediction right here. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think about these races. Do you agree with my prediction? Who do you think? What candidates are good that are being put up? Just share your thoughts in the comments. What you think. But I thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.